flashback.
Purple took a back seat this time around, but I wouldn't be surprised if it picks back up later.
End of flashback.
I called it! In my previous video, I briefly mentioned how we're currently in a balanced meta, where all 4 colors have a deck that's competitively viable. I wanted to ruminate more on this topic because it's been on my mind lately. Not too long ago, the Grand Open in Germany was held, and it was the first tournament to include the tournament pack exclusive promos, notably Axebiter and Swordosaurus. And based off of the top 8 results of the Grand Open, these promos served to boost up decks that were already good, like Pterosaurs and White Control. That said, it was still very diverse. The biggest surprise to everyone, except me, was that Purple won the event, despite it previously having a disappointing show at the last Grand Open in California. Furthermore, there was only 1 yellow deck in top 8 as opposed to 3 previously, 5 if you include top 16. What's interesting about this particular fact is that the yellow deck didn't play the new promo Dual Eagle, a card that was really hyped up, and yet, Purple and Yellow switched in terms of overall success, while Red and White seemed to stay about the same. Point being, the meta is still extremely balanced. For someone like me that doesn't really plan to participate at the highest levels of competitive play, it's really cool to see this many decks be viable. But I also understand that this could be a point of annoyance for those that do play competitively. Because there are so many viable decks, it makes it that much harder to deck build. When creating a deck, and especially when making your sideboard, you want to include cards that are targeted towards the best decks in the current meta. When there's only 2 or 3, this is easier to do, and depending on your choice of deck, you're even able to include these tech cards straight into your main deck. But when there's 4, 5, or even 6 decks that you fully expect to play against, suddenly, those targeted tech cards become less appealing, and if you still put in cards targeted against specific decks, you'll run the risk of sacrificing efficacy against other decks. For example, it wasn't even a month ago when people in the community were talking about how we were in an aggro meta, with white aggro being the metaphorical boogeyman of the format. Well, this time around in Germany, not a single white aggro deck made it to top cut. That's not to say that white aggro is suddenly a bad deck. People were just more prepared for it this time around. It's not like the non-white decks were packing cards like Suppression and Bloody Rain for no reason. But it's also partly why Purple was able to get more top spots, because people weren't as prepared for it. Again, when there are 4 to 5 completely different decks at about the same power level, there's no way you can tech for all of them at once. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that a balanced meta like the one we're in is a good or bad thing. I simply want to understand the pros and cons of such a meta, what people like and dislike about it. It's all fascinating to me. And from what I can tell, most people do like more diverse metas compared to ones that aren't. I certainly do anyway, which makes me curious about where Battle Spirits Saga will go from here. As of recording, we just started reveal season for False Gods, the set that's going to introduce green into the mix. Obviously new decks will come from it, but will we still be in a balanced meta when it's all figured out? Or is it going to be more concentrated into just a few decks? Or will green take us into a glorious new era of bird supremacy? Let me know down in the comments how you feel about the meta we're currently in. What do you like or dislike about it? What would you like to see in your ideal format? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Battle Spirits Saga content. Until next time, laters.